Hey, book club. It's the morning. So, black. Like my soul. We're in a bit of a different location today.
Ooh, it's hot.
So, things are kind of getting back to normal-ish in my life, and 3 videos a week is quarantine schedule. When I have a lot of time, but it's not even really like the time of my job. I just got my audiobook sent to me for Dominion Required this morning, and I'm just starting to get a little stressed. Like, guys, November 26th looks so much closer than it did from the beginning of this pandemic or from last week. I really want to finalize my audiobook so I could start looking for advanced readers for the print and audiobook versions of my novel. If you might be interested in that, let me know. I'm also going to be looking for people to help me promote my book, so if you're interested in that, let me know. So I want to get a lot of that work done this week, and I've been meaning to do this video for a while. I did not think through the drinking at beginning of book club thing because, I mean, sometimes I want to shoot in the morning. I'm a mess. One of the books that I talked about reading this month was the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, and I think that book was, well, I'll get to that book. Anyways, that book inspired this video because I didn't finish it, and I don't know that I'm going to. And it's not the reason you think. But there are a few books in my history that I haven't finished, some that are popular, some that are not, and I wanted to tell you about 4 of them. 5 of them? 6 of them? I'll count at the end. The first one I'm going to talk about came out a while ago, and it was kind of riding the high of The Hunger Games and Divergent. Maybe I didn't look up when it came out, but I didn't finish the Scorch trials. I remember loving The Maze Runner by James Dasher. I remember being so into it. Basically, we follow this like ragtag group of teenage boys who are stuck in a maze. They have like this home base in the center of the maze. They get stuff delivered to them. And then outside their home base, there's this huge maze. I can't really remember why they have to go out into it, or if that's just like the way you get out and get free, but I remember being super into this book. I listened to it on Audible. I really liked it. I was so curious leading up to the end. I was so excited for an author to finally have a group of teenagers in a position like this that had nothing to do with a government experiment. I was so pissed at the end of that book. I don't even know why I picked up the second one, but I did. They're like going through another test or something because the maze was a first test or something. I don't know. And I was just so over it. There was only like one girl in the book. I think one more girl comes in the second book, but it just didn't grab me. I remember being so pissed at the end of the first one and hoping, because 95% of the first book was so good for me, that I wanted the second one to redeem it, and it just didn't. It was so boring. Like, there are these sun flares thing, and there's some post-apocalypse. Like, it was like every other book, and the characters were not enough to keep me there. So yeah, Scorch Trials, you get -2 Harry Potter lightning bolts because you disappointed me. The next book I'm going to talk about, I was actually reading. It wasn't an audiobook. It's Graceling by Krista Cashore. And look how far in I got. I got so close, guys. So close. I think I'm going to finish the rest of it as an audiobook. I found it on YouTube. The print is big. I was really excited to read this book. I was actually burning through it. And then, like, it just got... Well, I'll tell you what it's about. So basically, this book takes place in a fantasy, medieval-ish world where there are 7 kingdoms, and some of the population have superpowers, but like just one superpower, and it's just like a normal thing that we can all do, but they're super at it. So maybe you're a super baker, or you're like a super runner, or like our main character Katza, a super killer. She has the ability to kill very easily, and these people are called Gracelings. In the society, if you're graced, your eyes are not the same color, so you can see if somebody has a grace right away. And they are all tasked to work in specific places. And Katza, because of her grace, is tasked to work for her uncle, who's the leader of one of the seven kingdoms, I think. And he's a jerk face. We don't like him at all. Katza and her uncle's son, her cousin, are in this council together where they help people. It was a little unclear. I don't know if it was unclear because the book was unclear. It was unclear because I missed something as I was reading off the page because I'm not a good reader. The council is going to rescue somebody who was kidnapped and we don't know why. The grandfather of the Lynid Kingdom's royal family or something. Anyways, she meets this guy who's also a Lynid while she's trying to rescue the grandfather, and his name's Poe. He ends up coming back to her kingdom. They become besties and they start a romance. And I don't know what it is, but as soon as their romantic subplot came to fruition, I got bored. And it wasn't just that they were together. Like, the book got boring for me at that point. The two are traveling together to like this neighboring kingdom of Poe's where they think the king is graced with like super talking. Allison from the Umbrella Academy on steroid. Like, whatever he says, people just believe. And I think why I stopped reading was because it was just all too much. Like, Poe is the only one who the grace doesn't work on because his grace isn't actually super fighting, it's reading minds. And Katza's grace isn't actually killing people, it's survival. And even though her grace is survival, she is still susceptible to this evil guy's rumor super talker powers, and it just got to be a little bit too much. I might finish it as an audiobook. I wasn't able to continue reading it. It was so slow. It was like walking through Middle Earth without the fun stuff. I can't even say that because I didn't finish Lord of the Rings. Graceling, you get 1 out of 5 Harry Potter lightning bolts because I don't think it was necessarily a bad story. I don't think it was poorly written. For the most part, the pace was moving well. There was just something about that section of the book that lulled for me. I've watched a couple other reviews and everybody seems to, for the most part, enjoy this book, but I got quite bored at the end and I didn't finish you. So Graceling, you get 1 out of 5 Harry Potter lightning bolts. The next one... Everybody apparently loves this book. The next 4 I'm going to do, I think everybody loves. Six of Crows. I tried to listen to this book twice. I actually listened to it for like 45 minutes and I was like, this book sucks. And I put it down for a while. Everybody was talking about how great it was. I started it again and it still sucked. I don't know what it was about it that drove me friggin' crazy, but something about it just got to me. I think it's because all the characters were like 15 years old. It's a heist story, right? They're not saving the world, but even so, the characters' ages just drove me crazy. I think that's what did it. Like, I can barely remember what happened, and I usually have a pretty good memory for these things, but my brain for this story was just a sieve. Like, it did not hold my attention at all. Six of Crows, I'm giving you a -3 out of 5 Harry Potter lightning bolts because it was just nothing appealed to me about this book, and I really wanted to love it. The next 2 are also 2 that I really wanted to love. Everybody talks about how great this author is, and I don't think I like Neil Gaiman's writing style because I tried to read and didn't finish American Gods and Good Omens. I started reading both of these around the same time as the shows for them started to be advertised. American Gods, I tried this one twice too. I listened to the first chapter and I was like, I don't understand what's happening. This is boring. I talked to my friend about it and she was like, Hannah, somebody literally swallowed an entire human with her vagina. And I was like, okay, maybe I should try again because somehow that escaped me. So I listened to it again and I'm like, okay, cool, great. That was super weird. And I think I got about 2.5 hours into it and it didn't hold me. And with Good Omens, I really tried because the trailers for the show looked good. I really, really tried. I think I got maybe halfway through this book and I just didn't care about the characters. I felt like it was very disjointed. I think maybe I don't have the patience for that style of book. That might be the thing because I think, well, it's similar but not the same with the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, the last book that I'm going to talk about. But I want a lot of answers right away, and I don't always have the patience to wait for the slow burn. To Neil Gaiman, I'm going to give both of your books 1 Harry Potter lightning bolt out of 5, not because they're poorly written, just because I don't like the writing style. And this is my channel and my rating system, so that's okay, right? I don't need to ask you, I know it's okay. Okay, last book, the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. This book I'm 20 minutes into the 5th season and I have no idea what the is going on. Like, it's a history of the world. Am I stupid or am I dumb? I listened to the prologue twice. It was a 30-minute prologue that made no goddamn sense. It's like the world is ending over and over and over again, and then somebody's born from a stone egg and then eats some rubies and then walks away, and I'm supposed to keep this in mind for later, but I don't know when later is. And I'm 3 hours into this book. I'm a couple hours in. I'm in chapter 6. The writing is spectacular. I still have no idea what the is going on. So basically, this book takes place in a world that ends regularly. And there was a great line. The last line of the prologue was super good. It was something to the effect of, there are a lot of stories about how the world ends, but this is a story about how the world ends for the last time. And I thought that was a really impactful line. The narrator for this was phenomenal. So good. And that was part of the problem. The writing is like, when she wants to get you, she gets you, and she just got me. It's gross. So in this world, there are some people who can use some kind of magic that is connected to the earth, or like seismic events, or ice or something. I wasn't really clear on it because I didn't finish the book, but also I think that in general this book it just makes you work really hard to understand everything, and you might not understand the full magic system until you finish reading the series. These magic users are oppressed. So one of the 3 storylines that we follow is a young girl who we meet being kept in the barn by her parents because she is a magic user, and a guardian comes to get her. Another perspective that we meet is a mother whose son was killed, assumedly by her husband, who has also taken her daughter. So her storyline is going to find this person. And the reason that it is assumed the father killed this son is because the mother is a magic user, and so was her son. There was some kind of earthquake, and it is assumed that the father thought the son was doing it, was responsible, and if he killed the kid, then they would be safe. So he kills his kid. And the third perspective is a young woman given a mission to, I don't know, I only met her long enough for her to be forced to bone some guy to make like magic babies or something. I don't know. So there are a couple reasons why I stopped listening to this book. One of the much lesser reasons is that I had no idea what the hell was going on. We have these 3 perspectives. I was starting to think, and had I not watched the Witcher TV show, I don't think I would have thought this, but I was starting to think that I was reading different points in time. But one of the things that was so odd is that the mother looking for her husband who killed their son perspective was in the second person, and that was so weird. But you know that the second person isn't you yourself, like it's not me, Hannah, it's the character, but it was still very odd, and it wasn't like a choose your own adventure, but it took a little while to get used to. I can only assume that it's because somebody is reminding this person of their life. They're telling this story. You did this, you did this, you did this. Anyways, the other 2 perspectives were third person, so that was pretty easy to read. It was just I had no idea how any of these 3 connected. And at a certain point, I just accepted that. Like, I'm listening to 3 different stories, and I'm going to assume that they're all going to connect somewhere down the road. I may or may not ever find that out, because this book gave me a nightmare. Like a real woke up at 3:30, scared, couldn't get back to sleep nightmare. Because there's a scene where the young girl who was put in the barn by her parents is being taken by this guy who is the creepiest guy you will ever meet. This mentor guy has a child who has some kind of superpower where she kills people by accident, maybe. Or some people with her superpower kill people by accident. I'm fucking confused. So she thinks that she's going to be able to control herself. He tells her that basically your power has no distinction between threat level. You feel threatened, you're going to use your power. The power takes over and controls you. And you're lucky you found out one way, whatever way she did, instead of accidentally killing one of your family members, right? The way this scene was written was just so horrifying. And she's adamant, no, I can control my ability. And he says, okay. They're riding a horse and her hand is on the pommel, I guess, at the front of the saddle. And he puts his big hand over her small hand. And then he breaks her hand to see if she's gonna kill him. Her hand. and he slowly crushes this young girl's hand. And there was a part in the scene where she says like her other hand was like scratching at him, but he took it and put it against her leg so she could only scratch herself as he like slowly crushes her hand. And it was so horrifying. Okay, I'm not a doctor. I barely passed grade 10 biology. But I'm pretty sure the bones in your hand don't heal super easy, right? Like, is she gonna be chronically debilitated? Like, is she gonna be able to use her hands for the rest of her life normally? For this guy's friggin' experiment? The narration was so good. The writing was so good. It was horrific. It was disgusting. I had a nightmare last night about children and people having their bones broken in ways that will never heal properly. And it makes me not want to finish this book. And I don't ever need to, I don't want, I'm like legit still haunted by this scene because it was so good and so scary, and I don't want to be scared like that right now. I don't really want to read about a lot of child abuse. And he's like breaking her hand, but he's also telling her that he loves her. It's so creepy. I don't remember the last time a book was so impactful. Like a scene was so impactful that I'm legitimately scared to read the rest of this book because I don't want nightmares. I also don't want spoilers because I might read it because the way people talk about this book is like there's this huge payoff at the end, like this huge oh moment. And that's cool. Like I want that. I just don't want the nightmares. So, N.K. Jemisin, I give your book 5 ghost emojis out of 5 Harry Potter lightning bolts. You guys can interpret that whatever way you like. And that's about it. My 2 questions for you guys are, 1, do you feel an obligation to finish books once you start them? Because I do know a lot of people are like, you have to finish a book once you start it. And I feel like I'm starting to think that life's too short for that. Life's too short to read bad books. And not even bad books. Life's too short to read books that you don't want to read. And my second question is, what was the book that either you did finish and disappointed you the most, or you didn't finish because you were disappointed in it? Not necessarily that it was bad, it just didn't finish the way you wanted, wasn't going the direction you wanted, you were just disappointed. Could be bad, could be not bad. Whatever. I want to hear about the most disappointing book you've ever read and whether or not you feel a moral obligation to finish books. Okay. I'm gonna finish the rest of my coffee. I might read the rest of, I'm reading Midnight Sun as well right now, which is taking up some time because, man, did Stephanie Meyer have an editor? Like, did anybody edit this down? Did anybody do that? It's over 600 pages. But there will be a couple Twilight videos to come. Some on Fridays for books, some on Wednesdays for thoughts on things. And happy Friday. I hope you guys all have a great weekend, that you are happy and healthy, and bonus points to you if you've washed your mask, because I haven't. Dirty. So gross. I'm gonna do that today. That's one of the things I'm doing today. So wash your mask, wash your hands, stay safe out there, and until next time, may the force be with you. Live long and prosper, and don't let the muggles get you down.